What's up, guys? I'm Jason. It's the Freebirds Garage, and today we're looking at why the battery is not charging on the FXR. Welcome back to the channel, guys. We are talking charging systems today, and in particular we're doing the voltage regulator on the FXR. Last year I changed the stator by Psycho Electric is who I used. They are an American or USA brand, made in the USA as well. They're out of Ohio. I think they're a somewhat smaller shop, but either way, fantastic company. I really like the quality of the stuff when I pulled it out of the box. Real good quality and great reviews as far as what I look for. Looking for electric, it's kind of stuff you kind of want to just do once. You don't want to have to keep replacing. So, especially when you do this, when I did this one and it wasn't doing videos, this is a nice project. It's replacing the stator on these, I don't know, I'm pretty sure they're similar, pretty much the same across for all the Harleys. But once that's replace the battery, my voltage on my battery, I've noticed, isn't up to the 14 area where I want it to be, like a 14.1, 14.2. It's like a 12.1, 12.3 now. So came to realize I have to replace the battery and the stator. It's now the regulator that we want to get into, and we have to fish this wire to the fuse that goes then to the battery, which this powers into the regulator. Regulator converts that into power to the battery for it to charge. So that's why we need to replace this and get it there. But do the best I can. I get shots of fishing this through the wire. There's some tight spots of it, so you essentially either just talk about it or we'll go around it the best we can. So let's dive into it. Let's get to changing. All right. So this is where the regulator sits. If you've never seen one before or to know where it's at, that's where it's at. So I'm gonna pull that off here first. There it is, real simple, pulled off. As soon as actually you can see underneath it too, which is neat. The new one doesn't have that, but that is just the regulator off. We're gonna unplug it here. Now, the fun part begins. So we're gonna have to start fishing the wire, or start uncutting all the zip ties. Want to memorize at least where the wire is tucked up to go the same route when you do this. It's the best way. So cut each one, runs underneath, starts here, runs underneath the frame or so, underneath the exhaust, then through the backside. So we'll get to the front shot here. So when I was getting under here to start snipping these wires, I noticed there was an extra oil drip that wasn't normal. That didn't look normal. My gut feeling told me it wasn't normal, and luckily found out and saw that the oil line here has worked its way out. So it is a great idea to always check your underneath panel. You know, these Harleys, obviously everything shakes on these things, so everything seems to eventually make their way loose. So if you ever have a gut feeling that something doesn't look right, double check and look around, and that's what I felt like. And found it was the oil line, and thank God I caught it now, because that would have been detrimental going down the road or going anywhere and losing all your oil while you're driving and toasting your motor. So back to the scheduled regulator. We're gonna snap the line, or snap all the zip ties. Keep moving. Tracking the wire all the way through. You gotta remove the battery. Here. So they tucked this wire all back through here. So that's why we had to remove the battery. And the end point will be right in this fuse box. I'll get a picture of or a video of that. But yeah, we run to the back side here real tight. So we gotta cut the zip tie there. Once we get there, that's should break us free of the cord or of the wire, and then go to install the new one. You get stuff apart like this, look around for anything that's either wearing out or any premature failures that you can catch now. There's our regulator wire right here, black one. I'm going to take that off now so you can see it. Freeze this up. Oh, we got one more zip tie we gotta get rid of. But essentially, that will free us up there. But this wire goes to this fuse, which then transfers to this wire, and that wire above right here travels behind the frame and goes right to your battery, and that is what gives you the right voltage, or converts from your stator to your regulator into the battery, so it converts over to it. So that's how you run through, that's how it charges the system. So if you're trying to wonder, or you're trying to figure out if you're having a bad charging or intermittent problem, you could be grounding somewhere on your wire, and there's a lot of point of contact where these things are really tucked away that can cause that to wear off on the wire and then ground itself to the frame or where else. So these are just ways that, you know, if you're looking, there's a lot of spots they can get to if it's not one of the main components. It's stator and the regulator. So between those two, that should get you pinpointed. All right, so we're gonna start finishing it up now, pulling that apart, and then get back to installing it. Two regulators side by side. Obviously the OEM one here. This is the new one by Electric. The new one has some improvements from the original one there from Harley Davidson. And they state that, they don't really state what they've done. As far as what I've read, I can't really find, but you can tell from the side views or there that the fins are taller on the sides here, and then there's like the original one in the middle. Usually that's done because of cooling problems. They found that these probably wear out more from overheating or heat over time being trapped. So to help them not prematurely wear out, they probably created the fins that are obviously a lot taller now on the sides. And it seems to be actually, in general, overall, just a hair, or I want to say like 1/8 of an inch taller on top too. So you have a little bit taller fins there, and obviously the big fins on the sides are the biggest difference I saw in designs from going to the new one from Electric, which they try to improve on OEM while keeping the OEM specs. I'm starting the install now of the regulator. The setup is different because I have a Big Bear Choppers front motor mount up here. So the original mount of everything is no longer existing up here, but it still mounts in the same area. So that's where we're gonna put that on. It's gonna mount right there. And now we're gonna follow the old wiring through, make sure it goes all hooked the same way, keep it from damaging itself. Make sure that it doesn't hang below any of the brackets. If you're doing this, make sure everything's tucked up. Alright, so we're back on the other side. As you can see, I got the wire all the way through. Made sure it ran just nicely through the battery compartment. I'm going to go back and actually zip tie everything. Everything seems to pull right through just fine. And if you're doing this for the first time, don't try to crimp your wire, in my opinion, until after you get to the point of destination of where it's got to be, just because you got some tight corners you have to go through in order to get this thing fished through. So go through there, and that way you know how much extra, if you need to cut off or you don't quite crimp it correctly, you'll have that extra room. So there we are. We're gonna crimp this on, bolt it back up, get the battery back in, zip tie everything, and she's back to normal. You really want to make sure that it is crimped down very snug, because you don't want anything loose obviously coming about. So you should be able to yank on it without a problem. If it comes apart, you definitely do not crimp it obviously tight enough. So alright. Everything's tucked back together how it should be. Now we're going to do the final test, which is to see if the battery is charging while it is on and make sure it's not discharging. Now this battery hasn't had a trickle charge on it from the last couple times it's been ran, so it has been worn down. We really should see a 13.8 to a 14.2 in charging volts coming off of here, so we want to make sure we have that to know that the stator was running. Now prior I didn't have this thing filmed, but I was at a 12.10. It's very low while running, especially while running. So that's a discharge battery, or the battery was just running off itself essentially, not getting any charge put to it. So I got it on volts here. We're going to turn it on, test it, and see if we fixed that issue. Alright, now it's a little lower, but it is climbing because the battery is worn. See, we're already at 13.7. Let's see if we can hit 13.8 at least. Right there, we're at 13.8, slowly climbing up, as you can see. Alright, that wraps it up for the regulator replacement. Fairly simple, 2 bolts front. Plug on the side, run your wire, and you're done. Fixes a very frustrating problem that you may be having with your bike. It was frustrating for me, so I am glad that it is no longer discharging as I ride or as it sits. So if you're not running at a 13.8 on your battery at the minimum, you have a charging problem, whether it be the regulator or the stator. So, if you made it all the way through, I would greatly appreciate it if you could hit the subscribe button, tap that like, press that notification, leave a comment below and tell me what you think. And for those that have already subscribed, thank you. And as always, stay free, and I will catch you later.